Welcome back, nerd family. My name is Bryan from Keeping Up with the Nerds, and with me is voice actress. You might recognize her if you guys have played a familiar little game with a scary little teddy bear as a happy frog. Excellent. Madison Brunoehler, thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
It is a pleasure to have you. When they told us that we were going to be interviewing a voice actor, I was just like, oh, yeah, definitely. I will be picking your brain at this because I think voice work is so interesting.
Yes.
I know it's a lot of hard work.
It is, but I think it's actually probably the easiest part of the entire animation industry. I have the fun job. Everyone else has to work really hard. I get to talk to myself in a box all day. It's amazing. I've definitely talked to other people that are like, no, animation is easy. Voice acting is hard. And I'm like, no. Voice acting's the easy one, guys.
No, trust me. You know what? The writing of filming is difficult. Camera work, easy.
You know what? I will do the voice acting. You do the animation. It's
just
perfect.
switch jobs. And then see how it goes. That's how usually, right? That's how people figure it out. No, I do admire voice acting work because when we do our skits on the show, it's always difficult to personify a different character, right? And I could only imagine, and I think it shocks me when you see someone have their normal voice and then they're just like, let me change it up for this character. And you're like, what the heck?
Yes.
This is so interesting.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind me asking, when you approach a voice acting role, what steps do you take to get into that character, right?
Well, if I'm lucky, there's already a picture of the character, which really defines how I'm like, oh, they're supposed to sound like this. But a bunch of the time, I don't get that. I get a character description of like their attitude. What I really like is when I get a description of what they're wanting the voice to sound like. Like, yeah, we want this to sound like Mabel from Gravity Falls. And I'm like, okay, now I know. But a lot of the times I get things like she's spunky but doesn't know it yet, or she's shy but is like actually the lead character, doesn't know she has superpowers, that kind of stuff.
So like generic descriptions of any person that you can meet.
So I'm like, okay, what do I got? Oh, I've got an age range sometimes where it's like, okay, so she's 5 or she's a teenager, because those are two different voices. Because if she's 5, main character is quiet, but the show is going to be about her coming out of her shell, so she needs to start here and then she'll go there.
So you can start off kind of here.
Well, okay,
if she's just like a little girl.
But then if it's a teenager, it's like, okay, so she's a little bit older, and it gets just a little bit higher and a little more uncertain kind of thing. Because then you go from there. I mean, the best descriptions is usually age, to figure out exactly how they're supposed to sound.
I was not ready for you to just start the voice work, and I was just like, wait, I hear it now.
No, hold on, it needs to load. Give it a minute. No, it's just right there.
That's awesome. So if you don't mind me asking, so you did Happy Frog from FNAF, right?
Yeah.
So when you are given a character look, right, or a description of a person or an animal or something that's alive, right? I feel like you could easily try to put your own twist to it.
I can do it with things that aren't alive.
Okay, so that was going to bring me to that question of like, how do you bring about a voice like Happy Frog when they're an animatronic?
Well, the description I got for Happy Frog was she's cute and sweet, but then can turn spooky on a dime. And I was like, oh, easy. Okay, I have a repertoire of like cute that can then turn creepy, because then she starts, she's
very sweet, very bubbly, but I will kill you. Watch out.
My heart dropped for a second. I was like, I reckon no. All right.
So now I didn't know that it was for Five Nights at Freddy's when I got the audition. So it was like, oh, this is kind of something that I think it sounds familiar. I thought maybe it was like a fan project for Five Nights at Freddy's, because I think it mentioned animatronics. So I kind of got the idea that it was like a Chuck E. Cheese-esque kind of thing. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cute, but then the lights go out and it's terrifying now. Got it.
You got to add a little of a dark undertone to that voice of mystery.
Still keeping the voice, just changing the attitude.
I see.
Yeah.
And that does change the dynamic of a character, right? Because like if it's, the voice could be anything, right?
Yeah.
And then the attitude is what gives that character like that like spice of like, okay, now we know that it means something different.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, my next question to you is, I noticed that as you're doing the voices, you're very animated with your hands and your arms, and you're able to do all these different things. So when you're in the recording studio, the recording box, right? Do you bring those animations physical animations into the box?
Yep. You try and contain them, but I have been known a couple of times to hit the mic.
Okay.
It's not the best, but it's really hard to be wildly enthusiastic and totally still.
Meanwhile, the person who's monitoring the levels on the other side just hears the boop, and then they just bounce.
So I'm always like, oh, I'm sorry to the engineer. I didn't mean to do that. My bad. But it happens sometimes because you have to act it out because there's nothing else you're working against except your own imagination here.
Yeah.
So you got to have something that you're building from. And I have a very good imagination. So I am able to make it happen with just words on a page. But you got to get kind of physical with it a bit.
Okay. Now, I know that voice acting for video games educate me on this.
Yeah.
Voice acting in video games is different than voice acting for an animation.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm going to assume it's because with animation, there's something visual to work with.
Depends on the animation. If it's for like anime, I'm doing a dub, then it's very apparent. Here's the video where I'm matching the energy that I've got on screen. Great. But for American animation, I get almost nothing.
Oh.
I will sometimes not even get the character picture, but I will have the director being able to direct me, okay, here's what's happening in the scene, here's all this stuff. And it's very straightforward, very A to B. But with video games, it's a lot more because you have to record all the lines for all the possible scenarios that the character or the player could choose to go down a different route.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more words. It's kind of like recording an entire audiobook for just this character and all their possible lines of dialogue. So video game is a lot more, whereas animation is, here's the script. This is the story.
So then, because I've seen behind the scenes works, right? Of like voice actors going into a studio and they're acting out the lines, but with the scene being played in front of them.
That's usually a dub.
Okay.
Or if it's for an American animation, it's usually a pickup where they're like, we need to go in here and get this done. Or they are bringing in a celebrity to voice a character. And what they have done is they've used a scratch track, which is a temporary audio track of other actors that are usually cheaper than the celebrities that are voicing this character for like a Pixar, where you got Aubrey Plaza playing four lines for this one Pixar movie. She came in and she recorded her lines to the person that had already did the scratch track.
I see.
And so the animation is pretty much done at that point. Because sometimes when they're doing that, they don't know what celebrity's going to voice that character.
I see.
So it's...
You would think that they would, though, because they would be trying to reference maybe the celebrity's persona into that character, right?
They could. Like the character that Aubrey Plaza played in Monsters University. She was kind of this gothic, kind of down here kind of character.
That was her.
That was Aubrey Plaza, yeah. So they were probably hoping to get Aubrey Plaza. That was probably the plan, which is why they designed that character very much for Aubrey Plaza. But there was also the possibility that Aubrey Plaza might have been like, no, I don't want to do this Pixar movie.
And then they have to do something else, or maybe
do something else.
A scratch.
But they could get further along in the animation process and save money by using a scratch recording instead.
I see. Yeah. Well, let me ask you about your history in terms of like how you got into voice work, right? Because I feel like a lot of people, when they think about it, it's like, okay, they've got to send in reels to, different companies and maybe do different versions of the same line in different emotions. How did you go about it and how did you get started?
Well, there's a million different ways to get started in voice acting. The way that I did it was I have what is known as range. And I can voice many different characters from all these different ways to do that. You can do voice acting with one voice if your one voice is very good. Like if you got that smooth, buttery news announcer voice, you can work for days or years or whatever. But you have to be really good at that one voice.
Yeah.
With range, what they want to see is that you can do all those different characters. So when it comes to a demo reel, you want to get as much changes in your voice that are drastically different as quickly as you can. Because usually, if you're lucky, they will listen to 1 minute of your demo. Most likely, only 15 seconds, maybe 10.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I get, because that's always been the case. People say it.
Yeah.
It's like, anyone that's working on a project will only listen to a quarter or a fraction of the work that you submit.
Yep.
but that's kind of the hard truth.
Yeah. So put your good stuff at the front. Don't wait for the good stuff to be the end thing. No. You put that at the very, very beginning.
Showcase your best work.
Exactly.
And make them
right off the bat
believe that you're meant for this role.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you get started in voice acting?
Officially, I got started in voice acting 2018. So what is time now? So that's what?
24, so 6 years ago.
Yeah, 6 years ago. Thank you.
I have to think about it because it still shocks me. Like if you were to tell me Monsters University came out 10 years ago, I'd be like, what?
I'm like, no, I saw that in theaters.
I know.
It just came. What do you mean?
I was conscious. I know. I thought I was an adult, but now I wasn't. Apparently.
What happened? What did time do? I don't know.
What does it mean to move forward in time?
I'm not sure.
I'm
pretty sure we all stopped 4 years ago. And then things have continued, and we never agreed that time was going to continue forward. So what is happening?
I went to sleep, and 5 years passed.
Yes.
And I'm like, what the heck happened here? What bills? I have to pay bills?
We Rip Van Winkled it, and I did not agree to this.
I love how you could just rip off of that. It's just so great to talk to you, Madison. It's great. But you've been in the industry for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
What other roles have you done in those 6 years?
So I've done some characters in Warhammer 40K, the video game.
Oh, people will know that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sister of
that's a huge
Battle,
fan.
Alpha Pariah, Howling Banshee, like several different characters there.
Uh-huh.
I voiced the character Archer in Clash of Clans, but only for the commercials, because that's where she actually speaks. Instead of just the grunts she makes in the game. Exactly. So I do her voices in the commercials of very Abra Plaza-y kind of bored kind of sound. That's what I do for Archer. A lot of work in AFK Arena, the mobile game.
Yes.
And Dislyte, again, another mobile game.
Yes.
Many characters in those. You'll hear me all over the place in those. And so those are kind of my most well-known bits, but I've been working for 6 years, so I've got about 600 credits under my belt, some of which are on IMDb and some of which may never see the light of day.
IMDb had like a list. That's what I was doing. When I pulled your name up, I was looking at everything. I'm just like, I recognize AFK Arena and Clash of Clans and Dislyte. I think Dislyte came out recently. It was like a year or two old.
Yeah.
Please don't tell me it's like 4 years ago. I'm like, no, God, no. Like 2 years.
Definitely two.
Okay, thank you.
Only
Thank
two,
you.
right?
Don't make me feel older than I actually am. I'm just like, no.
I remember when there was ads for it on TikTok, and I was like,
I remember that.
None of my characters are in these ads. That's fine. That's fine.
But if people want to hear your voice, they can play the game.
Exactly.
And there you go. That's how people will know.
Yes.
That completely sidetracked me because I was going to ask you a completely different character. Oh, that's what I was going to ask you.
Yes.
So for the people that are watching, I need you guys to pay attention to how, when you do your voices, when you're just like, oh, it's a very broody character, you sunk down in your chair.
Yeah.
Just like, that is brilliant. And I love it because it's like you're portraying the character. You're getting the voice.
Yeah.
That's all we're really getting. But you're able to translate that physically.
I mean, you kind of have to because they breathe differently. The sounds come from different places. It's not just, it all comes out of my mouth, boom. It's like, is it here? 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 Like, I've definitely gotten things where it's like the character's voice is coming from here. And it's like, and you got to adjust your posture for that. Or depending on like how they're standing, because I was originally an on-screen actor. Okay. So I learned, how to hold yourself as a character, how to walk as the character, and how that walk affects the character. So also how my posture will affect this voice. If I'm playing a high-energy character, I gotta stand up in the booth and move around. If I'm playing like a really slow, lethargic one, I'll sit down on a stool and just do the whole thing like this. Because it gives a different sound. You can hear the difference.
100%. Where are we at in time? We've got about maybe like 2-3 minutes left. So I quickly want to talk to you about, because this is, I love voice acting. I feel like voice acting is that talent that, is not replaceable. But we're getting to that point in time where people think that they could replace the natural voice of people when they're, in video games or anything else with AI. And I'm going to say this. We're not advocates of it. We understand that it's a tool.
Yes.
But what I love so much about it is that when you're playing a video game, you can only, like for me, I can relate it to video games, right? There's only certain things a human can do to really portray the emotions of the scenes going on.
Yes.
And I don't know if you're familiar with Gears of War.
I am, yes, I know it, yeah.
So to me, the scene that always hits hardest is when Marcus, the main character with the bandana, loses his friend Dom as he sacrifices himself so that he's able to escape the horde.
Yeah.
There's a huge Dom mom, and then the crash happens.
Right.
And it brings that emotion. Can you do that with AI? I don't think so.
Nope. And there's a reading tool that like people that can't read will use to read that. And I've used it a couple times during like, oh, I don't have time to read this, but I need to read this script real quick. And I've used that. And just listening to it is like, yeah, no, it's not, they can't emote.
They can't.
They can read the words and maybe have a little inflection in it sometimes, maybe kind of, sort of, but for the most part, AI can't get the soul of it.
Yes.
I've never heard a good AI that has actually hit emotion.
Mm-hmm.
They can only say the words. And to a degree, I'm like, oh, thank goodness. And to another degree, I'm like, well, you know that people are trying to develop it in such a way that it can do that. And I wish they would stop. I wish they would make AI to do my laundry.
You know what?
Instead, that would be great so that I could focus on being an artist and not have to put away my laundry.
No, 100%. And I think that people forget that it's a tool more than anything.
Yeah.
It's not a replacement. I'll say this as a creative.
Yes.
The one thing I really do appreciate about your work, seeing it now for the first time, is that you are able to emote. And I cannot stress this enough. The emotions you bring in your voice are shown physically.
Oh, thank you.
And it's really inspiring because if I were to create a character and I gave you this piece and I said, hey, I need you to do a broody teenage girl, 15 years of age. She's gone through a lot of trauma and she just has so much weight on her shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
I'm translating you that description of the character.
Yeah.
You as a voice actress are going to add different elements to it in the recording studio.
Yes.
You have that. Okay, I got it. Okay, now I'm going to start to slow down and really just gotta
kind of get into it. I'm just like,
just so annoyed at the world. Just,
I don't understand why this is happening to me.
There it is.
Yeah.
And those are elements that you cannot replicate with AI.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm going to design this character, you just brought a different idea into my head.
Yes. Because each actor will bring something different to a character. You cannot duplicate the exact same way. It does not work. If someone else tries to do SpongeBob's voice, they can do an impression.
Yeah.
But they're like, that's not SpongeBob.
Yeah.
It's the same. And with AI, it's always going to be the same.
Yeah.
Same thing. It doesn't matter what variant of an AI you get there. And I've had people reach out to me and be like, can you do a mapping of AI? I'm like, no.
I'm good.
No,
it's a computer.
That's my entire career. No, you cannot buy my entire career for $120.
And I will say that it shouldn't be that way.
No.
Allow creatives to be creative.
Yes.
It is an art to essentially, show to the audiences the limits of what humanity can do.
Yeah.
And I agree with you in that sense.
And
but
now I'm not against artists licensing their voice for that. However, the way AI currently is and the laws that are in place for AI do not work for the artist.
Mm-hmm.
Because if an artist maps their voice and sells their voice to this AI, they should continue to receive a dividend every time that AI of their voice is used.
Yeah.
They should continually make income from that, not just one time flat rate. Now you have my voice to say whatever you want for the rest of time.
And the likelihood of that is non-existent. People just record their voice once, get paid once, and that's
Artists are doing it right now, and I feel so bad for them. But I'm like, it's the Wild West at the moment, and there are some laws being put in place, thank goodness, but it's still not in the favor of voice actors. Like there was the whole strike that happened with SAG-AFTRA and making sure that their jobs couldn't be taken away by AI. Great. But it kind of nudged out the voice actors at the last minute to fall under that. So I was like, okay. But we do luckily have NAVA, which is the God, I can't remember what it means now, but it's basically the Association of Voice Actors.
NAVA, right?
Yes.
It's the National Association of Voice Actors?
Yes. Thank you.
I think we interviewed someone. Did we interview someone at LA Comic Con?
Probably. They had a booth there.
It was the spokesperson for NAVA. Yes, so we interviewed them.
They are the ones that are actually going to Congress. They are going to Capitol Hill and being like, no, you need to put in laws to protect AI artists because this can take their entire job so much more than on-screen actors.
Yeah.
So
and when we
do have some people fighting for us, which is great.
Yeah, we covered SAG-AFTRA, the strikes that were going on there.
Yeah.
I think it was like 4 issues, like 4 weeks of just constantly covering to see what happened. And I think the sad part about it that we were looking at it is like, you're 100% right. The writers got what they wanted. and then everyone else, voice actors and the other parts of the industry, even like stunt workers and stuff like that, they were just kind of like left to
writers and on-screen actors. Yay! Everybody else get out of here.
And we'll figure it out in the background. Don't worry. There's a whole C plot.
Don't worry. We're still fighting.
Which
for
is
you.
a shame because again, all components of anything creative are important because if one part is missing, then it's not going to be the same thing.
You're starting to kind of see that in Hollywood these days.
Oh yeah.
Where they're just taking out little pieces like, oh no, that's not important. Heart and soul of a story, we don't need that.
Nah, you just want action.
No, they
exploding
just
cars.
more CGI.
Oh, and the CGI, usually takes you 3 years to do. We want it in 1 year.
No, we went in a half an hour.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, sorry. Half an hour. You wasted 2 minutes of
You're
this in the
already
conversation.
late.
It should have been here now.
It's going in theaters tomorrow.
The movie's out on DVD already. What are you doing? It's already on streaming, and the voice acting's not even there. Come on, get it together, guys. Madison, it's been great talking to you.
It's been lovely meeting you.
I really appreciate. Let me just say, I appreciate the work that you do. It is an art. I want to continue studying it, and without a doubt, I'll continue to appreciate it onwards.
Thank you so much.
Where can people find you?
You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and probably whatever next platform is going to come up when any of those collapses. I will be under Maddie to the Max. That's MADI, the number 2, the Max. And that's me on all social media platforms.
MADI 2, the number 2.
Yep.
Max.
The Max.
The Max.
The Max.
Maddie to the Max on everything she just said.
Yep.
All the platforms that you're going to be on will be in the description down below. And please go follow, go support her work, go show some love because without people like her, we wouldn't get the things that we enjoy.
Yeah.
And you've been amazing. Thank you so much, Madison.
So much.
I appreciate
great talking
it.
To you.
Awesome. My name is Bryan. This has been Keeping Up with the Nerds. And this has been Madison Brunoehler. Brunoehler. No, I was on it. I was so close.
So close.
Madison.
And you tripped at the finish line.
You know what? Let's cut it. Let's just do this again. Let me. This has been Bryan from Keeping It With the Nerds, and my name is Bryan. No, wait. Oh my gosh. With me today is Madison Brunoehler. We're gonna wrap this up because apparently I can't talk anymore. Thank you guys.
That's my job.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you guys in the next one.